Czech culture, if I put it on a scale,
It's highly unlikely for Czech people to.
Czech and Slovak people were obviously obsessed with just like.
Would you say that people in Prague are somewhat different than people in other parts of the Czech Republic?
Definitely, like that's funny because the Czech Republic is.
How would you describe the Czech culture?
Czech culture, if I put it on a scale, because we can only compare when I say how we describe a culture, it's mainly individualistic. Pretty much individual is given more importance, more space. You cannot go and start a conversation somehow in a street. No, this is not Spain or Portugal. This is more of an individual culture where you don't interfere in others' space without invitation, kind of thing. And I think this is pretty good because from where I'm coming from, it's more of the people are gonna be in your life without invitation. So this is kind of positive change for me.
How would you describe the Czech culture?
Well, I mean, that's actually the downside for me. It's very close, despite of the fact that this is a city that is very used to receiving tourists because tourism here happens 24/7 the entire year. They are very close to people that it's not from the Czech Republic. They are very cold. They are very distant. I think that especially if you're coming like from like me from a Latin country where like people there, it's like so warm, so welcoming, so familiar, like so no personal space, so a lot of hugging and a lot of that. This is like the exact opposite. So if you're coming like me from a culture like you can find in most Latin countries, this is like quite a shock.
It's highly unlikely for Czech people to start a conversation. Even when you enter a pub and you see all the tables that they are almost interconnected, you can literally sit next to each other, and if you don't strike a conversation or if they don't want to speak English or whatever, you're not going to be able to mingle with them. Nonetheless, I believe in every culture and almost in every country, probably with the exception of the Mediterraneans and the Latin Americans probably, if they want to party and if you offer some beers, you're gonna manage to get to know them. But they are very close people in general. They are very punctual because also the seasons of this country are very, very specific. So if you don't gather these things now, it's done.
I can say the Czech culture is also defined by like drinking. People here like to drink. I don't know if it's like related, but people like to drink beer a lot and they like to get wasted as well. Even after work, during the weekends, it doesn't matter. Czech and Slovak people were obviously obsessed with just like drinking everything. They even have their like own special drinks in their like villages, I don't know, some kind of regions. They make some high alcoholic beverages from fruits and stuff. So drinking is like a big part of the Czech culture, I would say. If you are not speaking Czech, then it's kind of hard to just engage with them because they prefer you to speak Czech instead of like English. This is different in the bars and clubs, of course, because the ambience and the people are like they're different. But during your daily life, probably you cannot do much because they're just not really too friendly, as I've observed. I don't know. Even though I have like Czech friends, they don't seem people who are like over 40, 50 are not too friendly to engage with like people from other cultures or countries.
This is something almost all the expats here kind of agree about, that it's difficult to start a conversation with a stranger here. You can only make friends here in a bar after you are drunk. So this is something a kind of a inside joke in the expat community, that it's difficult to meet new people here in Prague. For me, even though it was not a problem, but a lot of expats face this problem. Because if you come from a culture where you talk a lot loud, like in trams or in public spaces, if you talk loud, then this is the wrong city, because here in Czech you are supposed to keep your noise very low and speak in a very subtle manner and not loud. So I have seen people from other culture, for example Spanish or Indians, or like those people, when they are too loud, they will it's not encouraged here by the local population.
The way that they act in public transport, they are really kind to each other. So they always, for example, let the people on the metro get out, then they get in. They always wait in lines. They're not impatient.
Have you so far have had any Czech friends?
No, not really. Not and not because I didn't try. I even so I've played field hockey my whole life. As soon as I came here, once I got settled, I was like, hey, maybe it would be like a good opportunity to like meet people, because you have, the sports in common, right? So you already have one thing in common. So I joined a club here and started playing. I think I started in August last year. To this day, people don't talk to me. Unless there is another expat in there, which we had one, but she left. People, it's not like the girls. It's really hard to talk to them. Also, not all of them speak English. I've also seen that part of the language barrier. I've met Czech people because they are like friends of friends, but no, I don't have Czech friends so far.
How would you describe the Prague culture compared to other places of the Czech Republic?
I think in Prague there's a clear influence of expat community as well as tourists. So people are more able to speak English. If you go to outside Prague, people say even restaurants or supermarkets, they will outright say they don't know English and they cannot speak it. But here they will actually try to speak English in supermarkets or places where you actually interact a lot. But I have had hard time finding a barber shop here, because even after 10 calls they would say they cannot make an appointment because they don't speak English.
And what about culture here in Prague? Would you say that people in Prague are somewhat different than people in other parts of the Czech Republic?
Definitely, like that's funny because the Czech Republic is such a small country, and it happened to me that I went to other cities like Český Krumlov, Pilsen, and I was expecting kind of the same thing. Also, like customer service here, not a thing, like not a thing, and people there were like so much more welcoming to foreigners. I mean, it's shocking also because Czech Republic is such a small country.
And the customer service that you described, which is not as good, could you give an example there?
Yeah. So it happened to me. I think that this is also linked to the fact that the Czechs, if you don't speak Czech, you are automatically excluded from society pretty much. It happened to me the first time that I went grocery shopping. It was like around maybe 8 p.m. And I went there, freshly moved, okay? And I went to the cashier and I was like, okay, like, hello, good evening. The second that she noticed I did not speak Czech, she automatically like started. She was grabbing my stuff from like one side of the counter, scanning the code, and throwing them to the other side. And she started to be like super rude to me. And this happened not only once, but maybe at least like 4 to 5 times since I got here. I've been to other countries in Europe, and this never happened to me. I feel that people that works in customer service is always like so nice and so appealing, and so like, I understand that you don't speak the language and they do their best to like communicate. Here it doesn't happen. So it's either you're in or you're out. And I talk to other expats and just people that comes visit, and they can 100% confirm. I learned a few Czech words that kind of get me by doing a grocery shop. And when I speak like that level, it's like the most basic level of Czech. already the attitude on the person working there automatically changes. Even though they can tell that I'm not Czech and that I don't speak Czech, at least not fluently, the attitude is 100% different. They are like, smiling and, super approachable and super like, oh, do you need anything else? Super helpful. Yeah,
So
but
perhaps they're appreciating that you're trying.
yeah, maybe that's it. But I mean, also like by the same token, they have to be, a little bit more of like empaths, because it's like I think Czech, it's like one of the most difficult languages to learn alongside with like Russian, Chinese, Japanese, and all of that. And Prague, it's like, again, as I said, it's a city that it's used to receiving tourists. So the fact that they are so against foreigners, it's like kind of hypocrite slash ironic to a certain stage. But like, yeah.
Would you say that people who live in Prague are somewhat different than people that live in other parts of the Czech Republic?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because here people got used to like international people, you know, people from like different continents, different colors. Uh, so I feel like they have more tolerance here. Because when I consider like maybe let's say like 30 years ago, there weren't really many international people from like Africa or India, I don't know, from South America. You wouldn't be able to, I believe that you wouldn't be able to see them on the streets or at like the workplaces. And now it's like changing because there are so many people who are coming to study and then they just like stay for like working. So it's like changing, I would say.
I believe the main thing that Czech people and Czech culture has is the Kafka punk, as they call it. So you have something that it's, let's say, realistic, and at the same time, it has a bit of steampunk inside of it, and some surrealistic slash abstract vibes. Let's say, for example, you see a general that it's literally half, and the other half is a horse. Or you just walk around the city and you see Franz Kafka with his umbrella flying literally above you or whatever. So they're very good with sculptures in general. Many vernissages, many, literally almost in every small cafe you can find a vernissage to go. Because the expat community is humongous, we have artists literally from over the world, from Brazil, from Iran, even from Italy. Doesn't matter. Pick a spot, and you can find something. Uh, Musicals are also humongous.
What do they like to listen to, the Czech?
Oh, they almost don't care. Yeah, we have, I believe in every country, we have only their culture that they want to go to a small pub or to a big club and listen to their own language. Doesn't matter if it's pop, if it's rock, or whatever. And it's a bit only for Czech people. It's a little bit unusual to see an expat inside. But in general, you can literally find whatever you are looking for in anything.